Okay, so end of the day, conclusionary report. It's the darker thing. It's this undercurrent that's really sort of sinister. Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. Now, there's no doubt that any movement is going to have some fringe elements, and a good movement will police some of the fringes. But get to the heart there, right? In there, he says in this darker tone, came from his sense that people didn't want to just talk about health care, that there was a sense that maybe their country was sliding towards socialism, that maybe there were some questionable medical ethics situations going on. Now, that would sound to me like kind of the day-to-day debate that we've been having on a lot of issues, and not something just kind of shoved off to a secret meeting of a fringe group. And if there are some extreme discussions going on, at least you have to acknowledge they come based on some statements or some speeches or some positions advocated by people that are either in the administration or are appointees to be in the administration. Play a little reporter reversal with me here, right? Wind it back a little bit. Anti-Bush, anti-war rallies. Can you imagine if you had a CNN reporter say, now you've spent some time with these people opposed to Bush, opposed to the war. What do you think? You know, I have, and I've got it's kind of dark and sinister, and it's pretty scary. It really gives you pause. Can you imagine that? No, you can't. And then, we saw in the last week, all of these reports, critics of Obama being portrayed simply as racists. I got to show you this. This was CNN's on the day of the rally, their website, their main story at the end of the day. And I get to the third paragraph. We're near the top of the article, and it says, talking about the signs in the crowd, Nazi imagery and a poster of President Obama as an African witch doctor were popular images. I spent hours watching the rally in Washington. I poured through video online. I'm sure somebody was carrying the poster. This is it. But I couldn't find it. Now, if I went through reams and reams of material to try to find it, and I didn't see it, and they're saying it was one of the popular images, well, then I'm kind of at a loss. And you know what happens? You don't even hear them discuss in these situations that a lot of times at these rallies, if there is a wacko poster being held up, it may not be from a conservative. It may be somebody from the other side who's trying to pose as a wacko to make the rally look bad. They never question that. And they don't point out that we've seen plenty of times, like with the Obama as Hitler mustaches and the guy carrying this one outside of a Democratic town hall, that first of all, the poster was created by the LaRouche Democrats who are for the single-payer system, and that this guy in particular later was seen passing out literature on behalf of the Democratic candidate, right? You don't hear that pointed out. All right. Now, CNN, they're emphasizing this darker tone. And the anchor, Don Lemon, even brings this up later in an interview with one of the Tea Party organizers.
But he says, on stage you hear a lot of people talking about, the kind of reform that they want, but then off stage it seems to have taken a darker tone. Explain what he means by that, and do you agree with that assessment?
I think people are scared, and I think it's showing through. And I think there's some wild rumors out there that people tend to believe from the lack of information from the president and from Congress.
People are scared. Scared of what?
They're afraid of where our society is going. Are we sliding into socialism? Is our country going to be as good of a shape for our kids as it was when we grew up?
What does that mean? Are we sliding into socialism?
Well, you've got government motors now. You've got GM taking over. You've got the insurance companies and the bank companies that are being helped out. That's unprecedented in our nation's history, and we don't know where it's leading to.
Now, you think most of the people there realize that when you talk about socialism, you're really talking about a different type government? I mean, we live in a democracy. Most people who have lived or live in socialist societies, that's their government. But we have capitalism here, a democracy. So how is that? I'm not exactly sure how that's socialism. I want to.
Well, I think I need to correct you on one point. We do not live in a democracy. We live in a republic.
All right, I wanted to leave it in so you could hear that part. By the way, Don Lemon, the anchor, later in the day, same day, he would do an 8-minute segment where he just could not get over the fact of Congressman Wilson's apology and how it just did not pass his personal muster. Rick Sanchez, though, has a big allegation to make here. An allegation directly about that ad in the newspaper. Listen.
You see the picture in the ad that they took out? Okay, pay attention to that picture right there on the right. That's the ad that they took out saying we didn't cover the event. All right, now keep an eye on that picture right there. You see the Canadian flag? That's on their ad. You see the Canadian flag right there at the bottom? All right, let me show you this. See the thing on the left now? That's our tower cam shot of the event that we used repeatedly throughout those shows. Funny how you can say that we didn't cover an event by using that picture that looks an awful lot like our tower cam shot, doesn't it?
Wow. Now that would be huge, right? You'd agree with me there. If Fox News used an image from CNN's coverage to create an ad making fun of CN, that'd be pretty low. So you know what I did? I contacted Fox News, tracked down a spokesperson on Saturday afternoon. I was able to confirm that the images in the ad came from the regular AP feed and a screen grab from Fox News's own coverage. Well, hold on here. Rick's not done. He's still set on proving that CNN actually covered the event.
There's a show on Fox News. It's called The O'Reilly Factor. You heard of it? Here's Bill O'Reilly doing a segment called Reality Check.
CNN, as we mentioned, covered the anti-Obama protests, of course, but ran into a little trouble.
CNN covered the event. There it is. This is Bill O'Reilly showing us, covering a story you say we didn't cover. Let me give that to you again. That was Bill O'Reilly showing CNN's coverage of a story that Fox News says we didn't cover. Can you say reality check, mate?
It might be a checkmate, but I don't think it's the one that Sanchez is thinking of. By the way, did you notice that they played him saying CNN covered the event and then ran into trouble? But they didn't play how they ran into trouble, which was that long clip of the reporter being shouted down by the Fox News supporter in the audience. You want one other ridiculous assertion here before we wrap up?
We did cover the event. What we didn't do is promote the event. Just like when thousands marched on Washington to protest the war in Iraq, we covered it as well. Probably less than we covered this event. But we didn't promote it.
So when they covered the marches on Washington against Bush and against the war, that probably got less coverage, he said, than the 9/12 rally. Well, Media Research Center says, in February 2003, during the lead up to the Iraq War, CNN aired a 2-hour special report, Voices of Dissent, which was devoted to an anti-war protest organized by International Answer, a radical left-wing organization. The following month, on March 22nd, 2003, CNN broadcast 38 separate reports on another anti-war demonstration. There is no way, according to the Media Research Center, that Sanchez's claim that CNN covered it as well, probably less than we covered the Tea Party, can be accurate. Finally, hear from Sanchez.
It's about letting Americans make up their own minds. Let me cut to the chase. When thousands of Americans showed up at the nation's capital to protest big government, we covered it with 4 correspondents, 2 satellite trucks, multiple live interviews, lawmakers on the record, and conversations with attendees.
Thousands attended. He couldn't even give them tens of thousands. He just had to leave it at thousands. You know, and maybe that's the problem. Whether they characterize it as thousands, or there's a darker tone, or there's this sinister undercurrent. I think Fox News knows that a growing number of Americans kind of sense that these other news outlets just don't get what's going on. In fact, I think Fox News knew their ad would cause these other news outlets to shriek. A Fox News executive did say, and quoted in some of the TV news blogs that are out there, TV Newser, Mediaite, saying, generally speaking, it's fair to say that from the Tea Party movement to Acorn to the March on 9/12, the networks either ignored the story, marginalized it, or misrepresented the significance of it altogether. In fact, my gut feeling here is that Fox News worded that ad deliberately in a way that they knew would cause outrage at these other networks, and that they would respond and that they would look ridiculous. Rick Sanchez got played. I'm Scott Baker.